royalty, a part of the hallowed crusade to end a feudal war. Or it made her a commie bitch traitor, but still royalty. The rest was detail, albeit interesting. She had won an Oscar. She had been married to the billionaire mogul T.T. Constable in one of the most documented relationships in history. She had made one of her several fortunes as an exercise guru, and still worked out 3 hours a day and was as fit as any 35-year-old. All who saw her that day felt her charisma, her history, her beauty, her royal presence, including the tourists, the other stars, the wives and mistresses, and her executioner. He spared her and America the disturbing phenomenon of a headshot. Instead, he fired from about 340 yards out and sent a 168-grain Sierra hollow point boat-tail Match King on a slight downward angle at 2,300 feet per second to pierce her between her fourth and fifth ribs on the left-hand side, just outside the armpit. The missile flew unerringly through viscera, without the slightest deviation, and had only lost a few dozen pounds of energy when it hit her in the absolute center of the heart, exactly where all 4 chambers came together in a nexus of muscle. That organ was pulped in a fraction of a second. Death was instantaneous. A kind of mercy, one supposes, as Ms. Flanders quite literally could not have noticed her own extinction. As in all cases of public violence, a moment of disbelief occurred when she toppled forward, accidentally broke her fall on the table for a second, but then torqued to the right and her body lost purchase and completed its journey with a graceless thud to the brick of the patio. Nearly everyone thought she's fainted, because the rifle report was so far away and suppressed that no identifier with the information gun was associated with the star's fall to Earth. It took a second more for the exit wound to begin copious blood outflow, and that product spread in a dark sheen from her body, at which point the human fear of blood, quite natural after all, asserted itself, and screams and panic and running around and jumping up and down and diving for cover commenced. It wasn't long before the police arrived and set up crime scene operations, and not long at all after that, when the first of what would become more than 300 reporters and photographers arrived on scene, and the whole 2 blocks of downtown East Hampton took on an aspect that resembled none of Joan Flanders' 28 films, but vividly recalled those made by an Italian gentleman named Federico Fellini. In all that, no one noticed a blue Ford van pulling out of an alley 340 yards away to begin a trip to another destination, and another date with history. The shooter did not spare his audience the theatrics of gore for his next 2 victims. He went for the head, hit it perfectly, and blew each one all over the insides of the Volvo, in which they were just beginning their daily commute. The range this time was shorter, 230 yards, but the ordnance was identical, and the accuracy just as superb. He hit the first target 1 inch below the crown of the skull, dead center. There had been no deviation through the rear window glass of the heavy Swedish car. Unlike in the Flanders hit, there was no immediate hubbub. Jack Strong merely slumped forward until his shattered skull hit the steering wheel and rested. His wife, Mitzi Riley, pivoted her head at the ruckus, had a second's worth of abject horror. Police found urine in her panties, a fact not publicized, thankfully, before the second bullet hit her above and a little forward of the left ear. In both cases, the hollow-point target bullet blossomed in its puncture of skull bone and spun sideways, whimsically, as it plowed through brain matter, then exited in a horrendous gusher of blood, gray stuff, and bone frags, above an eye in one case, below the other eye in the other, cracking the face bone like a pie plate. The car, which was in gear and running, then eased forward under the pressure of Jack's dead foot and hit the wall of the garage, where its progress halted. No one heard the gunshots, and, indeed, the sound of gunshots in that part of Chicago was not remarkable to begin with. Jack and Mitzi lay like that for over an hour, until a FedEx truck came down the alley seeking a shortcut through